everyone, JT here and welcome. So, as of right now, it is December the 30th as this video is premiering. We are about to reach the end of 2023 and entering a new year. Time really flew fast this year. And you know what? 2023 was an exciting year in movies. There were some great films that came out this year. A lot that I was watched that I thoroughly enjoyed. And you know what? It's time to count down. Yes, it's time for me to join and participate with my fellow YouTubers in list season 2023. And we're going to begin today with my top 10 best movies of 2023. And there was so much that came out this year that it was hard to really finalize this top 10 list more than I did last year. So basically the rules are that only a few movies on my list I didn't go see. A majority I did see, 100%. And also, this is all just my opinion. Don't take it personal. This is all just my opinion. And I hope you all also share your list in the comments section down below. So, before I begin my list, we're going to real quick give my brief little sharing of some honorable mentions. Movies that I really wanted to put on this list, but just didn't make it in the final list proper. So, let's go down my honorable mentions first. Okay, the first honorable mention I'm going to talk about is a controversial one, and I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard a lot of positive things. I've seen clips, and I've also seen reviews, specifically Jeremy John's review, when it came to this movie. And I'm putting it as an honorable mention because the topic of this film is very sensitive and could be seen as quote-unquote problematic for some individuals. However, from a social standpoint, I am very glad that this movie was made and was released and did get a lot of traction and really did go up in the box office when it came out and did bring attention on a subject matter which, as a society, I was hoping we would all agree is an issue that we should take light of. Sadly, of course, because the distributor of this film, some controversy surrounding its director, and just really the subject matter at hand, unfortunately, controversies and unfortunately became a divisive topic. And really, I found it very ridiculous. You know, it seemed like this should be a subject matter that we as a society, we should be all agree we need to tamp down on, particularly on the story that this movie shares. But yeah, Sounds of Freedom, I'm putting as an honorable mention because, yeah, the subject of, how can I hyphenate it for YouTube's guideline reasons? HT is a serious problem really much around the world that we need to put a stop to. And the events that happened in this movie were real. And, I mean, say what you want, I'm very much glad that this movie did came out. And it did get a good positive reception as it is. And even though I haven't seen it, I very much do see the importance of why it was released. And I mean, I'm just going to end what Jeremy John said in his review. It's not about the right, it's not about left, it's about saving children, it's about saving lives. And I mean, that's all I can really say, that I wanted this movie, when it was getting a lot of attention as it is, to show. Unfortunately, we as society, had to make controversy, and it had to be very much divisive and different opinions swirling around it. But hey, this was an important film. It's not much for some. I'm very hesitant even to watching it when it comes out on Prime, but I'm very glad that this movie did come out this year. Okay, next honorable mention, we have Suzume. So I want to wish congratulations to Makoto Shinkai, him, Hayao Miyazaki. We have 2 anime films nominated for Golden Globe Awards, which that's great. That's a big first to see 2 Japanese anime films get nominated for a Golden Globe for the Best Motion Picture Animated category. However, I put Suzume as an honorable mention just because while I love the animation was beautiful. The story, I'm sorry, I'm reminded more of Your Name and Weathering with You when I watch this movie. Again, it follows a very tale by tale formula that Makoto Shinkai has put himself in. Not saying that all of his movies dove into that formula sometimes, but it seems like since Your Name, he has a formula and he's kind of been sticking to it. Not saying that's a bad thing. It's just saying I'd like to see something a little bit different. But it was a great experience seeing this movie. Great voice acting cast, English voice acting cast, and of course the animation is beautiful. When it comes to Makoto Shinkai, animation is never looked down upon. It's always very much, very much there to see. So, yeah, Suzume, great film, formulaic kind of story. So, kind of downed out for the honorable mentions list, but definitely glad I put this movie on this list, definitely. But it was a great film to see overall this year. Yeah, the biggest movie of 2023 ended up being an honorable mention. Yes, Barbie. I will admit, I had a good time watching this movie. I did love the soundtrack. I've been jamming out to it a lot more than I have this year, even since the movie's release. And I will respect Greta Gerwig's respect for old school Hollywood. I like her odes and nods to old films like 2001: A Space Odyssey. Um, a lot of the Vincent Minnelli films, the MGM musicals. The set design was fantastic. I'm hoping this movie wins in set design because the set design was fantastic in this film. And I did love the acting of Margot Robbie, even Ryan Reynolds as Ryan Gosling as Ken. Come on. Great job there. And I even loved the performance of Will Ferrell and America Ferrera too. No, I did not think this movie was anti-men. I did not make a big deal about that. For those people who are making a big deal, like, come on. Seriously, it's a movie called Barbie. What are you expecting? But I had a good time. The reason it's just an honorable mention is because there were better movies that I enjoyed, in my opinion, that were kind of better than this. Again, not shaming the film. It was a great film. That's why it's an honorable mention. And I'm very happy for Greta Gerwig, for a female director to make a movie that surpassed the $1 billion mark. That is a very big success. And, it was a great experience of this movie. So, yeah, I had a good time in Barbie Land. Elemental is the next honorable mention on my list. And, you know, we really misjudged this movie when it came to the advertising and other elements of it. elements of it. It was a good film. I actually liked this film. This film grew on me. Is it the best thing from Pixar? No. They could do much better, and they've done better. Is it the worst thing for Pixar? Oh, absolutely not. We all know that will forever be given to Cars 2. Cars 2 will forever be the worst thing that came out of Pixar. Yeah, but Elemental was great. I loved the chemistry between Wade and Ember. I love that bond they had, and I love Wade's character too. It was a very fun film. Okay, I enjoyed it. It was very much surprising how much I did enjoy Elemental. I think I just really misjudged it by the ads and people saying it. I think it just comes to show that You need to watch it before you make your judgments. And for me, I corrected that when it came to watching Elemental. I had a good time watching Elemental. It's not the best thing from Pixar, yes, but it was a solid release, particularly at a time right now where Disney is struggling. For example, oh, I really, really wanted to put Wish on my list. And I'm sorry, when I'm looking back watching Wish and thinking really much and learning more about the mismanagement, the corporate meddling, the problems with animation, with layoffs, just everything that happened behind the scenes. Two words, unfortunately, give me a label for this movie: wasted potential. There was so much potential that the story that Wish had could work. Again, if we learned more about the backstory of King Magnifico, the more of, and a lot more elements were added in, this could have been a better story and not feel so corporately managed than it ended up being. Especially, of course, when it comes to thinking about if, and I warning, tiny spoiler, if King Magnifico is a representation of the magic mirror in Snow White, what does that mean his wife is? Is she the evil queen? Does she become evil later? Again, it's elements that really confuses me looking back, and especially because, again, what behind the scenes says they were originally going to have both King Magnifico and the queen and his wife, the queen, they were going to be both evil. That could be a better understanding because I don't know what the queen is going to be. Is she going to be the evil queen in Snow White later? Like, it just, there's so much that I'm thinking that would make this movie much better than it ended up being the final product. But even with these flaws, I had a good time watching this movie. I even have grown to like the music. Granted, the lyrics of the music, yes, I can clearly tell, yes, this was written by Julia Michaels. Now, I am a light fan of Julia Michaels. I like some songs that she's written for pop stars that she's uh, written for, as well as I've enjoyed some of her solo stuff. But is she an Alan Menken and Howard Ashman? Is she a Lin-Manuel Miranda? No. And believe me, her pop sensibilities really stick out on a sore thumb in this movie, especially in the song number I'm a Wish. In this universe, we're all shareholders. Girl, you're writing a song for a Disney movie, not for the musical adaptation of The Big Short. I don't. That lyric really stood out. I mean, there are others too, but that one stood out to me way more than it should have. And that really did kind of bother me, even though the soundtrack has grown upon me. Really, again, like, just like what I said of Elemental, is this the best from Walt Disney Animation Studios? Absolutely not. But is it the worst from Walt Disney Animation Studios? No. Believe me, the studio, for every Bambi, for every Dumbo, for every Beauty and the Beast, for every Lion King, I like to remind folks, we've had a Home on the Range, we've had a Chicken Little, we've had a Strange World. Strange World was way worse than Wish, and I will stand by that. Okay, so I feel, yes, we are very much aggressive when it came to Wish, but I mean, I understand what critics and a lot of people have been critical about this movie, and I mean, yes, me and Hannah Matt are kind of the only YouTuber critics that have been mostly positive. But I'm not going to deny that, yes, this movie has some flaws. It is clearly clear that corporate meddling was involved. Bob Iger, you're inheriting the bad habits of your successor Michael Eisner's micromanaging. Yeah. Look, Wish was okay, but it's an honorable mention on the premise that yes, the flaws, the problems people addressed are there, and again, this film was just wasted potential, particularly on the 100th anniversary of Disney to be made in commemorating that. It's really just, again, the wasted potential just sticks up there because this movie could have been better than it ended up being. I know. The poster should tell you how the level of miraculous fan I am. And yeah, putting this movie as an honorable mention, the sting of it. Believe me, we've been waiting almost 84 years for this movie. Delays after delays after delays, false promises, etc. This movie finally came out. And believe me, I enjoyed it. It was a great film. I loved it. But I also have to put the mindset of a critic here. I can't just let my love of this French animated series drive my opinion here. And well, the movie's very basic. I mean, it follows what we miraculars wish the show would do story wise, and that's very simplistic. Added also, again, the Marinette's singing voice. Look, I don't know what Jeremy Zag was thinking. You have Christina V. She can sing. The Christmas special should already be proof of that. I don't know why they didn't have her do the song numbers. Again, I love the French singer Lou, and she does a fantastic job. But when we have to deal with then transitioning from Christina V's talking as Marinette, and then Lou doing the singing, it's a big 180. It's very, again, it sticks out like a sore thumb. And, which was crazy, because you got Mel Ling to sing as Tiki, her character. Even Keith Silverstein had a song number that he sang as his character Hawkmoth, which was great, by the way. I'm surprised how much I enjoyed that song. Again, there were better movies that came out this year that were better than the Ladybug Cat Noir movie. Believe me, I wanted to put it in some position on this list, but there were better movies that I enjoyed than this one. It wasn't a bad film, but it wasn't great enough for me to put it on my best list this year. Who knows? Maybe the sequel will. Yeah, okay, sure. The chances of you, Jeremy Zag, to release this movie as scheduled that you do for the future, my expectations for you to keep this release date are very highly unlikely. I'm sorry. But no. Okay, before you Swifties come after me, alright? The only reason this movie is an honorable mention is because it was a concert film. A filmed live filming of the Eras Tour concert. It's not a narrative film, which is kind of the criteria I put whether that or a documentary. Bottom line is, the Eras Tour concert film didn't end up on my list. It's an honorable mention, but I'm glad I did because I had a fun time. It was great to have the ability to watch the biggest concert tour of the year at my local movie theater, with the price of it being a little expensive, but not as expensive as the price of almost a house mortgage where tickets for the Eras Tour unfortunately ended up being. Thanks, Ticketmaster. But I had a great time. I will not deny. This movie, watching it on a Cinemark XD movie screen, was very high quality. Very good cinematography of the stage, the performances, you name it. Taylor's vocals have gotten very much stronger as she's gotten older. And I liked, and of course, she played all the songs that I know of from her. Even songs that I never was a big fan of, like Our Song from her debut when I was very younger and was not into her. I was singing along because I remember those songs when I was a kid, even though I was not big on Taylor Swift. Even the extended version, I'm glad we have some more songs in the 1989. I haven't watched it yet. I'm disappointed that Cardigan was again excluded. I don't know what's with Taylor's grudge with Cardigan. I want to watch the Eras Tour live rendition of Cardigan. Who knows? Maybe she'll have it included in the physical release when that comes out. Bottom line is I had a great time. More specifically because of my experience of watching this movie at a movie theater. It blows my mind how much theater etiquette was out the window with the light footage. I'm only going to show a little bit of the stuff that I filmed in the movie theater auditorium because I do not want to get copyright striked again. Thanks, Mr. YouTube. I have to be very cautious here. But hey, but again, just the experience of watching this in a movie theater was just insane. And do not underestimate the energy of the Swifties.
Every time you look at me, ready? Oh Lord, save me, my drug is my baby. I'm losing for the rest of my life.
Seriously, they bring adrenaline, and with the lack of theater etiquette being displayed, I was like, screw it. I'm just gonna unleash.
But I don't care. I'm having so much fun. Less than this. So come with my boyfriend.
I'm never gonna act that way in a movie theater again. There's no chance that's gonna be ever happening again. So I took advantage of it, sadly. But either way, I had a good time. It was great to see the biggest concert tour and now the world record-breaking concert tour at my local movie theater. It is an honorable mention just because it is a concert film, and that kind of excludes it a bit from my list. But hey, I experienced Taylor Swift's Eras Tour, and I had a great time. All right, those are my honorable mentions. Now, let's not waste any time. Let's go to my top 10 list proper. Let's begin at number 10. My list, yeah. I'm sorry, this movie was a crazy experience. Cocaine Bear. Graphic films like this I'm not really into. But man, this film was an insane, crazy experience. It's one of those type of movies, folks. Just the whole premise, the story, the action, the crazy gore that happens, everything in this movie was a wild, wild trip. And it blew my mind. I watched this with my family, and they were just awe-shucked by it. Cocaine Bear was just an experience. It was a comedy. I was laughing, and it just, again, my head. It was just that crazy of a movie, folks. I just loved. The acting was great. It was nice to see that Ray Liotta, one of his final films, was this insane experience. Which, hey, that's a great way for your for a final film to be this, in my opinion. But hey, it was a wild film. You know, Cocaine Bear. I'm glad we got a movie this crazy in 2023. It's just, you have to watch it to really understand it. Next at number 9, we have Flaming Hot, a biopic about Richard Montañez, the man who supposedly had created the Flaming Hot Cheeto. That's been something that has been debated, and Frito-Lay has confirmed is not true. But even though, if it's true or not, I mean, Richard Montañez's career, he went from, from poor to helping do the marketing for a major food manufacturer. Like, you have to respect the started from the bottom, now we're here, and I gotta give it to Eva Longoria. She did a fantastic job. This movie was funny. This movie had great cinematography. And just it was a great for a debut directorial feature film debut for her. This was a solid way to do it. It was a great film. There were parts that were funny, very serious, but also just learning the creation of Flaming Hot Cheetos. Even though the story might be debatable, I had a good time watching Flaming Hot. I was surprised how good that movie was when I did see it on Disney Plus. And I'm hoping for Eva Longoria. I wish her well. I hope she does more biopics like this on other notable Hispanic figures. Or, anything else she does in a more feature film directorial sense. I will support it 100%. She really hit the ground running, and she brought in the spice with Flaming Hot. Number 8 on my list is a movie that I was hoping that Wish would be like, but it didn't end up being that way. That would be Five Nights at Freddy's movie at number 8. Again, I'm not a big horror movie fanatic. Yet Five Nights at Freddy's I put alongside the criteria of Coraline, where I'm not a horror movie fan, but I like this one. Yeah, again, I've never played Five Nights at Freddy's, the video games. I've never played them. And there were parts of the story which I know the fandom might care. I didn't really. The whole family thing with Josh Hutcherson, the sister, didn't really care about. But when we learned about the backstory about the founder of Freddy Fazbear's, I think that's what I'm pronouncing it correctly, learning about that, and I did love Matthew Lillard in this character, in his role in this film. Like, I know him more for his role as Shaggy in Scooby-Doo, but he did great in this movie as well. That actress who played Princess Anna in Once Upon a Time is in this, and I enjoyed her performance as well. I like this movie, and again, I feel like you have to be, the big reason I feel critics really didn't get it is I feel you have to be much more in the lore of Five Nights at Freddy's, or you gotta be a devout player of the Five Nights at Freddy's games to really understand it, and I'm kind of neither. And I kind of understand where the critics were with this movie. But it was surprising how much I enjoyed it. Even for not being a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, I enjoyed this movie. And it makes me want to play the games, though I'm not a big fan of jump scares. And I know that game is notorious for its jump scares. But it got me intrigued into playing it and to learn more about the backstory and lore of the characters that are in the game. And I did love the cinematography. I love the settings. It definitely does fit. Another thing I feel the fans feel like the aesthetics and themes that were known in the game of Five Nights at Freddy's, they do display well here in this film. Yeah, I had a good time watching this film. It surprised me, I thought it would be more like in Jeremy Jones' lane in his review. I thought it would be more negative, but no, I generally was positive, and I did have a good time enjoying Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't know if it'll be the same if I play the game, but it was a good film. And again, I do devoutly say if you are a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, I very much think you will enjoy this film. And I kind of did see by audience reactions, they did enjoy this movie. Number 7 on my list, another film based on a video game somewhat, but more so based on how this video game was imported out of a communist country into becoming a mega hit that it is. That is the film Tetris. You know, I'm a nerd. I love historical movies. And to learn how Tetris was taken out of the Soviet Union, the way that the distribution rights were done, it's just an interesting story. It's crazy. Taron Egerton was fantastic in this film. I love the cinematography. I love really learning about how Tetris was brought to be the big massive hit it was, how much of a struggle it was, which I don't blame it because it was in the Soviet Union. And in communist countries, the government owns everything, and they kind of owned the rights to this video game. So the insanity that it took, even though it might have been maybe too over dramatic, I can see the struggle that it took to get this iconic game out of the hands of the communist Soviets just in the 80s, more or less, too. You know, I feel like because, and as a history nerd to me, I love these type of films. And to learn about Tetris, to learn about how the distribution rights were put in for it to be released with the Game Boy, the struggle it took, meeting the creator of Tetris, and learning a little bit about the struggles he had to face while living in the Soviet Union. Yeah, this is a great, I love these type of historical films. I like this when it comes to biopics and things like this about a certain historical thing, that learning about how it was made a success story. Just, I like these type of films. And yeah, Tetris, that was one of those type of films I enjoyed this year. And I hope we do get more of those in 2024, especially from Apple TV, Apple TV Plus. Although I'm not paying for that. I do the free trial only. But yeah, this was a great film. Learning about how the great game Tetris became the worldwide success it is, the struggle to get it out of the hands of the Soviet Union. Yeah, give this movie a watch. Now at number 6, another movie that also was out on Apple TV Plus, that with a free trial I was able to watch. Still a Michael J. Fox movie. Generations have grown up with Michael J. Fox. You might know him from Family Ties, Back to the Future. For my generation, you know him as Stuart Little, Milo Thatcher from Atlantis: The Lost Empire, you name it. We've all grown up with generations have grown up with Michael J. Fox. And you know, I'm glad he did the same thing that Val Kilmer did for Prime Video. A documentary kind of sharing his life story and just his thing of always the energy in him to never be still. He can't be still. And to learn about his career, you know, how he had to sell his furniture to make money, everything, learning a true story, which basically he was filming Family Ties and Back to the Future all at the same time, getting almost 3, luckily maybe 4 hours of sleep. Like, he really was committed in really following that set that, yeah, you're going to be doing Family Ties. You can't miss out on that while you're still doing this movie. The work ethic he had was insane. Learning about his romantic life, how he met his wife, of course, learning about his Parkinson's diagnosis, and really how he can't be still even now, even with this disease ravaging his body. It's very much, it will hit you in the feels if you are a longtime person who loves Michael J. Fox, And I'm glad he did make this documentary. I'm glad he made this like little ode, giving us telling in his words about his story, life, and career. And again, a shocking standout from Apple TV. So, yeah, Michael J. Fox still. And even though he might not be doing acting anymore, he's still not still. And he's still looking for a cure for Parkinson's disease. And he is still at it. He can't be still. He can't be still. Number 5, we have another video game film, this time animated, and another big blockbuster hit this year. We got the Super Mario Brothers movie. This was a fun film and a shocking surprise to see from Illumination of all studios. Not saying Illumination is a bad studio. They've had some great films, but of course, they're the company that gave us the Minions and little other things here that not looked with great praise. But the Super Mario Brothers movie was a great standout, seeing, and, we really were misjudging of Chris Pratt. He did a fantastic job as Mario, okay? Would it have been nice to have the original voice of Mario being the voice of Mario? Yes. But Chris Pratt, he did a good job. Chris Pratt did a good job. I really did underestimate his performance in this film. And I did love also all the other actors. Anya Taylor-Joy as Princess Peach. Jack Black as Bowser. Peaches, which is a Golden Globe nominated song, which is insane to me that song is now nominated for a Golden Globe. I doubt it's going to win, but it was just a fun adventure. It was an escape. A lot of animation films, I do like when they give that sense of escape, and to really see this great adaptation based off one of the most iconic video games of the 1980s, and particularly of Nintendo's greatest icon. Yeah, I am glad we did get a good Super Mario Brothers movie. I don't care what people quite criticize it for. I enjoyed this movie. This was a great animated film. And maybe a Legend of Zelda animated. I don't want live action. I especially do not want MGK playing Link. Please, dear God, no. But yeah, I would like to see a lot more. There are a lot of Nintendo properties I can see getting animation adaptations. And hopefully we'll see what the future holds with this movie universe for cinematic for Nintendo coming into the future. Okay. Number 4, The Blind. While Flaming Hot was a great biopic, this film was the best biopic of 2023. Learning about the wild years of Phil Robertson and learning about his relationship with Miss Kay, seeing the struggles he had with alcoholism, and learning how much Miss Kay had to endure, and really just everything. It was just, again, as a person who grew up watching Duck Dynasty, to see how they were on the show and to see how they were when they were younger, being dramatized and being adapted in this feature film, it's a hard thing to imagine, but it's their truth. And it's kind of what sadly happened. And to see Phil Robertson going through this sinful lifestyle and then finally baptizing himself, finding Jesus, finding God, kind of washing away all the sins and flaws of his past to become the man he is today. This was a powerful film. This was a powerful biopic that I'm surprised I really found so fantastic. It was. And the cinematography was also flawless. Jay said in, I think, the Duck Call Room podcast, he kind of made how Christian films, and this is kind of a Christian film, as being a Christian film, they always seem kind of cheesy. No. The family spared no expense. They made this feel like a high-budgeted, like, feature film. You know, they got great actors who played Phil and Miss K. It's like you're seeing the young versions of Phil and Miss K. It's crazy. Even down to the actor who played Uncle Si. The young Uncle Si was just, it's like you're seeing the young versions of them come to life. It's really a good true back in time. And, you know, it makes me respect the Robinson family, you know, even more. I don't really care if people are going to have any controversial opinions of me putting this movie on the list. I know there's going to be, but I don't care. I grew up watching Duck Dynasty during its popularity in the early to mid 2010s. And learning now about everything from the highs and the lows during the early years, Phil's wild years particularly, and seeing him wash away all those sins, finding Jesus, finding God, you know, and really seeing his family go, you know, on their of God, family, and ducks. This was a great biopic. You know, I'm glad that this came out this year. This was a great standout to see this year. I really do, particularly if you grew up like me watching Duck Dynasty, you will like this biopic. So much, 100% highly recommend. And definitely was worth putting here in the top 5 of my top 10 best movies list. I know. It's really hard for me to even surmise putting this movie at third place because it was such a fantastic film. I loved Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You know, in a year, particularly this year, where anything Marvel, and specifically in the MCU, not really feeling too long in the nail, really kind of putting that cinematic universe is kind of needing to take a break. The fact that we got this, the sequel already to a fantastic film, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, they crushed it. Again, do not underestimate Phil Lord and Chris Miller. You know, yes, some stuff behind the scenes, and I will say that was kind of a contributing factor why this movie's in third place, but I loved this movie. These animated Miles Morales Spider-Man films is a perfect encapsulation of what I like to see for Spider-Man, and even what I would like to see in the MCU in general. I want more Marvel films that are animated that kind of take this route. And man, the different versions of Spider-Man in this movie, the character men of Miles Morales and Gwen and Spider-Gwen, was a great sight to see. The animation, the action was there. I loved it to death. And I'm hoping, and it is unfortunate, that we have no clue when the third film's going to come out. Sadly, it's been paused indefinitely. But I will wait. Because I want to see more coming from the Miles Morales Spider-Man universe. I want more of these multiverse Spider-Mans. I want to see more. Okay, this is what I like to see the MCU do. I want this type of experimentation. I want this type of quality to come from Marvel. And thankfully, we had Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And it was a sight to see. I love the action. Just everything. They just crushed it in the writing, the storytelling. It's fun. It's venturous. Okay? I had a good time watching it. Everybody did. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was fantastic. Awesome-tacular. I can't wait for the third film. Whenever that will be. It's just really... Do never underestimate Phil Lord, Chris Miller. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was truly a great Spider-Verse adventure for us to experience in 2023. Okay, at number 2, this has been the year that we respect legends. 77, Cher released a Christmas album and headlined the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and the lighting of the Rockefeller Center Christmas Tree Concert Special. We have Dolly Parton releasing a rock album that was more rock than the 30 Seconds to Mars album and headlining the Salvation Army Red Kettle Kickoff during the Cowboys Thanksgiving Day game. You have Brenda Lee, 78 years old, her iconic classic Rocking Around the Christmas Tree, hitting number 1 65 years after it's released. And now, at 82, the legend, Mr. Hayao Miyazaki, returned, came out of retirement again, with The Boy and the Heron, and it is the number 1 movie at the US box office. He beat out Wish. He even beat out Beyonce. Come on. Respect the legends. And The Boy and the Heron is number 2 for a reason. You know, thinking back, it was just very nostalgic to see traditional hand-drawn animation. You know, we're used to CGI, and of course we're now having this experimentation of hybrid traditional animation kind of style, computer generated, but this film is totally hand-drawn. Totally hand-drawn. And this film was directed and written by this legend, which, I mean, everybody loves Hayao Miyazaki. Yes, I'll admit, the story, I don't really get it. But granted, there have been several times when it comes to a Miyazaki movie, I don't get the story. I did not understand anything of Howl's Moving Castle. Do you? Let me know if you do. But I enjoyed the film, hands down. The animation, traditional, oh my god, is beautiful. It's amazing to know that this animation was done hand-drawn, pen and paper, paper pencil, like shot after shot. Like, that's the crazy part about it, because you don't understand the hard work it takes to do that type of animation. It's present here. And of course, the English voice acting was fantastic. You know, the voice of Makito was fantastic. Gotta give credit to Robert Pattinson's performance as the Heron. I didn't even know that was Robert Pattinson. I thought it was William Dafoe, but he played one of the Pelicans. But no, the Heron was Robert Pattinson. Yes, Edward from Twilight. Dude blew my mind and surprised me there. But yeah, this movie was fantastic. It's hard to tell that Hayao Miyazaki is going to be with us until he can't do it anymore. That's the only stand. This man's not going to retire. And if this is the quality we're going to be seeing more. I want more. Who knows how long it will take. This was great. I am glad it came out this year. This was among my anticipated movies of the year. I wasn't expecting it to watch it this year. Like many anime movies, I was expecting this to maybe come out next year. But it came out this year. And I'm glad it did. But it's not number one. I know I should give Hayao Miyazaki number one. But there was one movie, super special, that I loved more, that I have been waiting to do a review on. So what do you all think? I mean, a lot of you might be thinking, what did JT like more than all of these films? What got his number one spot? This movie is special at number one because it's a film that surprised me. I wasn't expecting. And I went back to it, and I always think about this movie even after I watched it. The characters were special. Particularly the title character whose name is the name of this movie. And most specifically, the story of how this movie was made, the insane limbo it went through. This movie is my number one movie of the year. Because particularly this movie was Meta. Ladies and gentlemen, my number one film of the year, Nimona. This movie came out of nowhere. When I saw the trailer, I was very surprised because I never heard about this film. I somewhat heard about the graphic novel, but I never heard that it was getting a movie adaptation. And when I saw the trailer, I was excited. And boy, I love this film. Nimona is a very special film that blew my mind in every way sense of the word. The animation was fantastic. I love that particularly. This dystopian kind of medieval but futuristic kind of dystopian world, that was just really it. But particularly the big standout were the character Nimona herself and all the voice actors involved. Nimona is possibly the best female hero animated to come out in 2023. Her character design, her personality is so modern and fresh and something so different from a lot of the female characters of this year. You know, give credit to Chloe Grace Moretz. Her performance as Nimona was outstanding. She pulled off the character's personality to a detailed perfection. I loved her performance as Nimona. Riz Ahmed as Ballister was also fantastic. I'm only used to knowing his voice, particularly being the voice of a real-life person, Amin Nawabi, in Flea last year. To see him do this role is an extreme 180, and he did it fantastic. But a bigger standout, too, was the voice of Ambrosius, Eugene Li Yang of the Try Guys. Eugene of the Try Guys. I know Eugene's an actor. He's done other acting before, but I've never seen a lot of it. This is the first time I see him in an acting role. He excels. His performance, his personality in this, the scene where he has a meltdown, like chopping off someone's arm is not love language. It's so opposite that you know the personality of Eugene to be. I love it. I loved it. He was fantastic in this film. But the biggest thing why Nimona ended up being number one is really the drama behind the scenes to learn about. This movie was supposedly going to be released by Blue Sky. And who owned Blue Sky? Disney. It blows my mind that Disney let this movie go. You know, when they shut down Blue Sky. This could have been a great way to close Blue Sky out. But they didn't. Because what I've done researched, Disney executives did not like that it was too gay. Yeah. It's crazy to think that, because Disney has been very much great with gay representation in The Owl House and Gravity Falls and other shows. But when it comes to the movies, they like to tread water in that. You know? Like, oh, this character in Strange World is gay and they're in a relationship. You know, blah, blah, blah. You know, Disney now is in the state where they have to try so hard to say, look, we love the LGBTQ community. No. If you would have released this movie. You would have kept Nimona. You would have shown the gay representation this film showed. But you didn't. You didn't. Because you know it would alienate your fan base. Even though several decisions right now, you guys are kind of doing a good job at that. But you could have done a better job of representation by releasing Nimona. And you guys could have had the guts to do it. But you didn't. So, that's what really bothered me. Why I'm glad this movie. But you know what? I'm glad this movie was not released by Disney. I'm glad this movie was released by a different studio and by Netflix. They kept the gay connection between Ballister and Ambrosius in. No problem whatsoever. You know? Because who knows? I don't think the film would end up as it is right now if it was still under Blue Sky and under Disney. Disney did not deserve this movie. And I'm glad another studio got a hold of this movie. And I'm glad this movie got released. This movie was something that stood out to me, being different, not afraid to push boundaries, and being flawless at it. And just Nimona is just a great female protagonist. We needed a female protagonist like her this year. And I'm ashamed that this movie didn't get a Golden Globe nomination. Maybe an Oscar, but I highly doubt it. But you know what? I don't care. Nimona deserves the praise and critical acclaim that it was received. And it is a fun watch. And it made me respect the work of N.T. Stevenson a lot more. And particularly, I bought his graphic novel of Nimona. I don't care. I love Nimona. Nimona was the film that surprised me the most. That was a surprise standout to me in a lot of movies that came out in 2023. And that's all I have to say. This movie was just special. Yeah. Nimona is my pick for the number one best movie of 2023. That is my list of the top 10 best movies of 2023. What do you think of my list? What do you think of what were you guys' top 10 picks for the best movies of 2023? What was your number one pick for best movie of 2023? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you to all my subscribers who've been watching this film. When this review comes out, this will be my 100th video on YouTube. I've posted 100 videos on my channel. That is insane to me. I want to thank all my subscribers who are new or returning. Thank you for sticking around, supporting my channel, supporting my recent documentary too, which is not on this list just because I don't want to be ego stroked like that. You know, but I hope you guys do check that out. I will have it linked in one of the links here for my videos. Thank you all for watching. Check out my last best and worst movies list of 2023. Stay tuned tomorrow for my top 10 worst movies of 2023. And until then, thank you all for watching. This is JT, signing off.